Good afternoon. That one was my fault. The microphone didn't work on my computer. My name's Matt Kasten. I am the welding instructor at the Capillary Career Center in Springfield, Illinois. Capillary Career Center has all kinds of different programs. Students from 19 high schools come out for half of the day out to our school and utilize the programs and everything that we've got out there at school. I've been teaching there for 5 years at CACC. A little bit about me. I grew up on a farm in southern Illinois, in Hoyleton, Illinois. We raised beef cows and corn, beans, wheat, and put up hay. I went to Nashville Community High School in Nashville, Illinois. And when I graduated there, I went to the Hobart Institute of Welding Technology in Troy, Ohio. It was a 9-month program, structural and pipe. I got my certifications from there. And then let me see what we got there. Once I got the certifications, I went out in the real world to go start welding. And I worked at all kinds of places. I worked at fabrication shops. I worked with a guy in southern Illinois. We worked in underground coal mines to repair continuous miners down below as opposed to bringing them all the way up. That was a pretty fun job. Worked fabrication shops, and then September 11th rolls around, 2001, and I decided that I needed to do something about it. So joined the Army. I told everybody I was going to go fight the bad guys with a torch and a welder, and boy did I get my wish, because I was stationed at Fort Carson in Colorado, and probably 6 months after I got there was my first deployment to Iraq. I was a mechanic, a heavy diesel mechanic for the Army. Worked on everything, all kinds of everything. So my technical term, I was a 63 hotel, a track vehicle repairer, but that basically means, in military terms, you work on anything that rolls up. So Humvees, 5 tons, M1 Abrams tanks, Bradleys, Humvees, all those big trucks, everything you can think of, I've worked on them. I ended up running the welding shop after a while as I made some more rank. You got in charge of the welding shop. And I was in the Army for 8 years. So lots of the things that I learned growing up on a farm, I was welding and wrenching and fixing, and worked as a hired hand a bunch of times. So that all helped me out a lot when I got in the Army, because I already had a basic understanding of how everything worked. So I deployed in total 3 times. I deployed to Iraq, 39 months combat time. I always tell my high school students that I've got more time in Iraq than they do in high school. They don't think it's as funny as I do. But so I welded and repaired and done just about everything vehicle-wise in the Army. Once I got out of the Army, I got out in 2010. I came back here to Springfield, and I worked as a mechanic at Green Hyundai here for a little while. And then this job came available at CACC as a welding instructor. I've been a wrench my whole life too, but my passion is in the welding. So when this job came up, I applied for it, and I got the job. There's some questions on there about education, certification to become a welder. Honestly, a lot of the jobs you don't have to have any certification, you just have to be able to do the job. Now, some of the higher level jobs, more technically speaking, they will need certification, and you have to have your specific certifications to weld on certain things like pipe or structural, and a lot of places have their own standards in-house. So that is varied, what certifications you need to be a welder. So what type of training education do I have to get this job? I teach in a high school setting, but I'm not a classically trained teacher. Illinois has what they call a provisional career and technical educator license, which is what I currently hold. So in order to do that, I don't have to have a degree or have years of experience teaching, but I did have to verify 8,000 hours of work experience. So that was getting in contact with all the people I worked with in the Army and prior to the Army, and all those things. I had to get the experience saying that, yes, I've done this. So after 8,000 hours of work experience, the state says that you're capable to teach it, which is cool. So I went through all that, got the licensing, and I've been there for 5 years now at CACC. What are some of the challenges you have faced in your career? In the welding career, the challenges were obvious. In the Army with heat, and it was very, very hot. And not only was it 102 to 115 degrees, depending on time and place. Besides it physically being uncomfortable, it was just very, very difficult because in a situation like that, you can't really be wrong. So if somebody brings in a tank, for example, and they need something welded on it or repaired, you can't be wrong, and you can't do it halfway, and you can't mess it up because they're taking it out to go fight in that vehicle as soon as you get it fixed. So the biggest challenge welding in the Army wasn't technical. It was just straight up, you don't be wrong, is what they would always say. Just don't be wrong. So that took a little while to get used to. Best part of my career is when I get so many students that don't have any idea what they want to do. Maybe they have or have not had any experience in welding, and then they come in and they fall in love with it, and they go out and they end up getting a career in the business. That's the best part. You see the light bulb moments where they figure something out and they get it. That's really cool. But when they actually graduate, go out to the next level, go to school, that's the best part. What advice would I give to seniors who are interested in welding? Start researching it. There are so many really, really good web pages dedicated to this trade and this craft and this art. So many web pages where they give tutorials and very good video, and they break things down. You don't have to know what you're talking about when you go in and you start. You don't even know what a welder does. They've got videos that'll knock that out too. Best thing to do is research it, because there's 10,000 avenues you can go down in this welding business. You can go so many different directions. So start looking at them all, figure out what you like, figure out what you don't like, and then find out where your next schooling availability is. Here in Springfield, we've got several options in Springfield, and most major cities have got things available for schools or junior colleges, all kinds of things. So just start researching it. That's the best advice I can have for seniors. What do I like about teaching versus working in the industry? Teaching's a whole lot easier on my body, no doubt about that. No doubt it's a lot less physically difficult to do the teaching part, but you've got to think a whole lot more and on different levels. For example, I've got two classes. I got an AM class and a PM class, and both classes have right around 30 students, give or take, in each class. So 30 in the morning and 30 in the afternoon. And I take 30 students from 19 different schools, and I have to teach them something they've never done before, with theories and electrical theory and metallurgy and how all these things fit together. And not everybody learns the same. Not everybody understands things at the same speed. So I have to be able to break all this down 15 different ways to explain the same thing, which is not unlike anything every other teacher faces too. But finding the way to get to each student in the way that they learn the best, I guess is what I'm getting at there. Jay Solomson said, in your opinion, which is better, Lincoln or Miller? I'm not going to take a stance on that one at this point. They're both fine machines. They've made quality product. Let's see. Yeah, many avenues in welding. Yep, sure. So, you can let's go into construction. So when you see new buildings going up, the Iron Workers Union, the Plumbers and Pipe Fitters Union, there's all kinds of union options as far as that goes to work on structural things, everything you see every day, bridges and buildings and all the big stuff. But then there's 10,000 things that you don't see that have welds on them. For example, I was in a restaurant before all this stuff went down, I was in a restaurant getting a glass of tea, and I looked at the holder that they had the tea in, and there was a TIG weld all the way around the thing holding it together. So from your cars, parts of your computers, many things in your home have welds on them. So there's all the production welding you can get into, things like that, plus repair. Welding repair is a whole different animal than fabrication. Fabrication is building, taking a blueprint and a semi-load of steel and building what's on that blueprint is fabrication. But welding repair is, in the ag world, something broke on the disc and you've got to get it fixed because it's going to rain tomorrow. We need this repaired right now. There's no manual for that because every break is different. So you have to understand how the steel works, how everything works together, and how to repair it. So many avenues for welding. There's all kinds of stuff to go down, and that's kind of also goes back to the question about the hardest part of the job, because it's not like I'm teaching to one specific. Okay, everybody in here is going to be a pipe welder, or everybody in here is going to be, a MIG welder, or whatever. It all changes by the student. So what I try to do is by their senior year is if they know what direction they want to head, I kind of start specializing a little bit in that area. If they want to go chase pipe and you want to go do all that, we'll get them going on that. Or if they want to look at something a little less drastic or something closer to home, we'll get them going on that too. Let's see. What is the need for welders like in Illinois? That's one thing I tell my students all the time. It depends on Illinois where you are. In Springfield, there's not a ton of welding positions available. There are some, but it's not a very manufacturing-heavy city by any means. But you go to, say, Peoria, where Caterpillar's based, or Decatur with ADM, they hire welders all the time. They hire welders all the time. They take guys right out of school. They take guys out of the next level school. Like, for example, I've got several students, and I see one of them's watching now on here that after taking my class went to Hobart welding school out in Ohio, just like I did. And now he's working on getting in with the union. So it's dependent on your area. Central Northern Illinois seems to have more of the welding work just because of the big corporations. You go to Peoria, every corner's got a fabrication shop. Somebody's making something for Caterpillar. So that definitely dictates, the job market is where you're at. I see growth in the industry. There's tons of growth. I'm on all these job boards on Facebook and all of the things where they've got jobs across the country, and they're opening refineries and power plants and everything left and right, and everybody's screaming for welders. They need welders and need welders. So there's lots of growth in the industry. My biggest piece of life career advice, I would say that has to boil down to respect. Biggest piece of life career advice. Respect makes the world go round. You can be talented, you can be smart, you can be hardworking, you can do all these things, but if you don't treat people with respect, you're not going to get very far. Always lead with respect. That's always the first thing to go from day one of a job interview to last day after 30 years working somewhere. Always lead with respect, and you can't go wrong. That's the best advice I've got. Let me see if I missed any other questions here. Let's see here. Yeah, I think that is getting to the end, unless anybody else has got any other questions. I think I hit all of them. Let me double check. I think we're good. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you guys having me on here, and you guys have a good day.